Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about the Altcoin Reckoning. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. We've been talking about the Altcoin Reckoning for approximately a year and a half. And the general idea is that altcoins, in my opinion, not financial advice, but in my opinion, the altcoin market is far too risky for 18 to 24 months or so after the highs for Bitcoin. And the reason is because a lot of them will just continue to bleed on not only their USD pairs, but also on their Bitcoin pairs. So if you are going to take the risk, you have to be aware that a lot of these altcoins are just in systematic downtrends against Bitcoin. And additionally, a lot of them will likely eventually put in new lows on their USD pairs as well. One of the ways that I think we can better understand the altcoin market is first we need to understand what the definition of it is. By the strictest definition, the altcoin market is everything besides Bitcoin. When I refer to the altcoin market, I'm typically referring to everything besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum is, by the strictest definition, an altcoin, but I do think, in my opinion, it is a blue chip. And so I'm not really referring to Ethereum as an altcoin. Be that as it may, I do expect Ethereum to continue to bleed on its Bitcoin pair as well. So when we talk about the altcoin reckoning, I am referring to the altcoin market, everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I also think that Ethereum is also in a process of bleeding on its Bitcoin pair as well. To show you the relative weakness of the altcoin market, we can look at total 3, which is everything besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, it does include the stablecoin market, and the stablecoin market cap is maybe a little over 100 billion or so. But when you think about what Bitcoin was able to accomplish in the first half of this year, we know that it was actually able to rally well beyond its late 2022 high, right? If you remember back in October, November, there was a rally by the total market, and we saw this short-term high followed by the collapse of FTX. Now, Bitcoin took out that level a long time ago. You can see that this high here, Bitcoin was able to surpass back in January. Now, the sobering reality for the altcoin market is that despite the fact that Bitcoin was able to rally above that high to the tune of 44 to 45% or so, total 3, or the altcoin market, was unable to do so. You can see that this high back over here was around 413 billion or so. And despite the relative strength of Bitcoin over the last 5 months or so, total 3, or the altcoin market, was unable to put in a new local high. Okay? Now that should send a warning sign to people that are, that are in the camp that the altcoin market is doing well. How can you say it's doing well when it wasn't even able to go above where it was back in late 2022? Furthermore, the altcoin market as a whole collectively is below the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, or the bull market support band. So while Bitcoin is currently sitting above it, and although I do think that Bitcoin will go back below it this year, especially as we get further on into the year, you can see that total 3 is already below it. Furthermore, let's just take a quick look here at total 3, total 2, and just total. So total 3, which excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum, is already below the 20-week SMA and the bull market support band. Total 2, which includes ETH, is still trying to hold on, and total, which includes Bitcoin as well, is still above it. So it shows you that the relative strength, the strength that total has seen for the last few months, is mostly because of Bitcoin and maybe some because of Ethereum. The altcoin market has not really been significantly contributing to the Cryptoverse staying above 1 trillion in terms of market capitalization. Now, you might point to some of these meme coins as evidence to the contrary, but think about it like this. Total 3, the altcoin market, is at 350 to 351 billion. We were at the same valuation back in January. The moves that you're seeing within the altcoin market are more so, in my opinion, just liquidity moving from one altcoin to another altcoin. I don't think it's representative of new money coming into the space at this phase of the market cycle. So the meme coins that have gone up, a lot of that liquidity is probably just because people converted other alts to those meme coins. But the problem is that the altcoins that were converted out from already had relatively low liquidity. And now that Bitcoin's having, at least a small pullback here, the altcoin market is really struggling because they don't really have a ton of liquidity already before the meme coins. And now they even have less liquidity. you should note that a lot of these meme coins are just outright scams. I mean, that's what they are. I don't really understand why people promote them. They might promote them under the illusion that there's something else. But the reality is that history shows us time and time again that these meme coins, most of them, just go back to zero and or they bleed against Bitcoin over the macro scale. And they're just a way for people to lose their money. Okay, I've said before, the altcoin casino will remain open until everyone has lost their money that's trying to sort of gamble in it. It doesn't mean that altcoins will never recover. I do think some of them will eventually, but when you still have the Bitcoin dominance below 50%, you're still in a period of quantitative tightening where the Fed's raising interest rates. It just does not, from a fundamental perspective, you would be wanting to seek out projects that actually provide real world utility, not projects that are just, pumping on some funny name or something like that. I mean, I know a lot of people like to follow this stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of these meme coins are just outright garbage. That's all they are. And expressing this view will often get a lot of people upset with you. But listen, that's the truth. I've lived through these pre-halving years multiple times. We've seen the same thing happen multiple times. People get excited about these meme coins and they get out the pitchforks for anyone who doesn't agree. And then 6 months from now, that community will basically not exist. And one of the things that you'll hear these people talk about is how great their community is. Guys, that the community for all these meme, they're all the same community basically. It's just the same group of people just pumping and dumping the same stuff. Just you slap a different name on it and say that you have a strong community, and then people will buy into it. Listen, the community stuff doesn't mean a thing. Okay, it does not mean a thing. If these projects can't show real world utility and whatnot, especially during a period of higher interest rates in QT, they're going to be fighting a losing battle. And a pump over the weekend isn't going to change that. Okay, so do not mistake a short-term pump as a reason for it not being a scam. A lot of the altcoins that have just been created recently, a lot of these meme coins are just outright scams. They are liquidity grabs, and the reason they're going up, in my opinion, is not because of new money coming into the space. It's just because of existing money already here is pumping into them, and then people, influencers, are promoting them because they want to get this liquidity as well, right? I think people are getting desperate for yield just because a lot of the altcoin market hasn't gone up nearly as much as they thought it would. A few weeks ago, you saw, alt season trending on Twitter and whatnot. And I said back then, guys, like these are not the right conditions to support a sustained alt season, and there's no one, I think, that's going to look back on this period and say that this was an alt season. I mean, the altcoin market has just been going sideways for about 4 months now. The moves in some altcoins have just been offset by moves to the downside in other altcoins. Okay, so please be aware that the altcoin reckoning is a very serious thing. The meme coins that pump are just simply, for the most part, they're just liquidity grabs by people who are trying to take your money. That's the reality. And I think more people need to understand this, and hopefully you don't have to learn the mistake yourself. Hopefully you can just see that this is likely the outcome. Let's try not to make the mistakes of the people that came before you. All right, so look at total 3 below the 20-week SMA. Total 2, including Ethereum, still holding it. Total above it, right, including Bitcoin. At the end of the day, as the months go on, I think we'll find ourselves back below it in terms of all three. And this is what happens during the pre-halving years, right? Everyone gets ahead of themselves. People call for new all-time highs. Some of these meme coins start to pump, and then Bitcoin, basically the Bitcoin's like, oh crap, all this money is being diverted into these scams again, and then that normally leads to another move to the downside, just to basically wreck all of these altcoins once again. Okay, so total 3, not even above the October high, right? That shows you just how weak the altcoin market is. I want to look at this a couple of other ways as well. One of the things you may remember is that Bitcoin came fairly close to testing its 2019 high. So the 2019 high here was around 13.8K or so. So it came relatively close. Now, what's interesting is that the altcoin market has not come close to that level. Now, you might say, well, does that mean it's not going to? I would say that it probably will test that level, okay? Just because it hasn't yet doesn't mean it won't. A lot of altcoins will likely put in new lows this year and or early next year. Let's go take a look at what that would mean. So if you go take a look at total 3, the all-time high in 2019 for the altcoin market was much lower than where it is today, actually only at about 100 billion or so. Now, are we suggesting that the altcoin market needs to drop by 250 billion? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. And the reason I say that not necessarily is because the altcoin market, or sorry, the stablecoin market makes up a considerable amount of the market cap at this stage. So let's go take a look at that. If you were to look at the market cap of, say, USDT plus DAI plus Bitcoin, or sorry, plus BUSD plus USDC. So let me do USDC as well. This is what you get, okay? And let me switch this over to a regular scale so we can kind of see what's going on here. And let me remove here the bull market support band. So this is what the stablecoin market cap looks like. It's dropping. But be that as it may, the stablecoin market cap back in 2019 was just a few billion, right? It wasn't very much. Now it's 118 billion. But it is trending down. So let's suppose that going back to total 3, that the stablecoin market is 100 billion higher than where it was back then. So where it was back then was around 100 billion. So if you add 100 billion to that for the stablecoin market, that gets you to around 200 billion or so. Okay. Now there is a very strong likelihood, in my opinion, that total 3 could go down to the 200 billion level. Okay, which from the current prices would still represent another drop of 40% for a lot of these altcoins. All right. Now, it is possible that the total 3 could go down more than that, because we also can see that while the stablecoin market makes up about 100 billion of the total market cap, it is in a downtrend, you know? And if this continues to trend down, right? Like if we were to sort of speculate here on this trend line that the stablecoin market has been going down, you know, by January of 2024, the stablecoin market could be below 100 billion, just if it keeps up with the same pace. So total 3 could go below the 200 billion level, because we're expecting, or at least I'm expecting, that the stablecoin market will likely continue to lose market capitalization. You know, you can look at some of the stable coins and say, well, you know, USDT has been going up, right? We can see that USDT has been going up, but it's not really going up for, you know, for really great reasons. I mean, I think one of the reasons, if you add on here, say USDC, right? It's like, so just look at USDT plus USDC market cap, you can see that it hasn't really been going up. I mean, it came down for a while and then it's been going sideways. And then if you add on, again, if you add on BUSD, you can really see this sustained downtrend that has emerged. So the stablecoin market is losing market capitalization, and Bitcoin already came close to testing this prior all-time high. And imagine if it does test it, right? Imagine if it does, where that would lead the altcoin market. So I do think the altcoin market still has a ways to fall. It doesn't necessarily have to happen overnight. It could happen over the next 9 months or so. Remember, in 2019, Bitcoin also had a pretty sizable rally that was then faded for 9 months after that. I mean, this was a 9-month fade by Bitcoin, and that was where a lot of altcoins put in new lows. A lot of altcoins put in new lows during that time period. So I do think it's important to recognize just how weak the altcoin market has been. Okay, the altcoin market has not been able to even take out these highs, and I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the reason some altcoins have gone up is just because other altcoins have gone down. Because not really. There's not really a lot of new money coming into the altcoin market. Again, it was at the same level as it was 4 months ago. So how does anyone look at this and call it an alt season, right? I don't think it is an alt season. And furthermore, one of the things we've talked about for a long time is the Bitcoin dominance. You know, think about how many people keep calling for the Bitcoin dominance to crash, and for alt season. And look where, I mean, it's just still sitting above 48%. It moves up and then consolidates, and then moves up and consolidates, and then moves up, consolidates. Again, it's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And every single time, people want to fade it and say, well, you know, it's just going to get rejected by the same resistance level. The trend has already changed. I mean, you know, the fact that we're just spending time up here shows that the market has fundamentally changed. Previously, we were just rejected on these wicks for the most part, and then we went back down, or we just spent 1 week up there. The market has changed. The altcoins are bleeding back to Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin dominance is likely continuing higher. Okay, so anytime you see someone call for a collapse of the Bitcoin dominance, what's happened, right? Yes, sometimes they get these wicks down, and yes, people like to call me out for that, but where are they now, right? Where are they now that the dominance is now at 48% and holding? And if it goes back down another percent or two, I'm sure people are going to come out from everywhere to say, hey, the Bitcoin dominance is back to 47%. But look, guys, just 2 months ago, the dominance was at 43%. And a couple months before that, it was at 40%. And before that, a couple months, back in November, it was at 39%. And then back over here, it was at 30, almost just below 39%. It continues to trend higher. The altcoin market continues to get wrecked against Bitcoin. And the people promoting these meme coin scams, what's their excuse going to be in 6 months? That's what I want to know. What's their excuse going to be in 6 months when the dominance is likely much higher than where it is today? And the altcoins, these meme coins that were being promoted, are likely just back down to essentially zero. Okay, so please be careful. Do not fall for this stuff. Let's go take a look at some of the altcoins and their trends on their Bitcoin pairs. We'll also look at some of their USD pairs as well. So if you take a look at and let's start with the main, Ethereum, because I know a lot of people have been following that one. You guys know my general thoughts on it. Everyone gets so excited anytime it pumps, but as I've said, and I will continue to reiterate, why? It's just one lower high after another, and it just keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening, and every single time people get excited about it, and then it just ends up being another lower high. Okay, and again, right now, right, like some people are excited. They're talking about, well, Ethereum's Bitcoin valuation is back up to 0.0664. I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, just a few weeks ago, it was at 0.0707. So it just simply is another lower high, in my opinion, right? I mean, and again, when you look at Ethereum if you sort of zoom out here and you look at, let's go to the monthly time frame and look at these Fibonacci candles in the monthly time frame. Like, this is just a look at this. Like, so you have one, and then you have sort of 2 and 3 where you have this distribution phase, right? So this is 1 here, and then you just get 2 and 3, this long distribution phase. And I ultimately think that it's going to get faded for probably most of the rest of the year. So be careful, even with Ethereum, because I do think it's likely in the process of just continuing a slow bleed against Bitcoin. It's not going down very quickly because it makes people constantly think that it's not done. It draws back in that liquidity from Bitcoin, only for it to just be another lower high. And people keep constantly thinking, oh, well, this is it, right? Like, this is it. This is when Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin. This is it. Oh, no, it's now. And ever since the merge, it's just been another lower high. And really, the merge was a lower high compared to late 2021, right? And people don't like it when I say this, but this was a lower high compared to 2018, and 2018 was a lower high compared to 2017. I mean, yes, there's also higher lows, and I will flip my bearish bias once we come back down, and we might be talking about those higher lows. But right now, I'm more focused on the fact that Ethereum Bitcoin's valuation has been putting in lower high after lower high after lower high, and nothing has changed. And the dominance continues to go higher despite everyone claiming that it's not. Furthermore, if we go look at some of the other altcoins, if you look at, say, like the ADA Bitcoin valuation, look at the monthly Fibonacci candles on ADA Bitcoin, right? It's just a sustained downtrend. Let's switch it over to normal candles. There's nothing about this in my book looks remotely bullish. Again, just continued rejections off of the bull market support band. Whenever we're above it, it's not sustained, and we end up just putting in new lows. So again, I think you're going to see the same thing play out for ADA Bitcoin. Look at DOT Bitcoin. I mean, it's just been capitulating for over a year without really any sizable rallies. And I'm sure whenever there's a rally, people are going to get excited. The reality is it's probably just another lower high. Okay, and maybe it'll be somewhere in here over the next few months that you could see some type of bounce. But even then, was it worth it just to watch this bleed for a year and a half? Or would you have been better off just not worrying about the altcoin market a year and a half ago and saying, you know what, I don't really care about the altcoin market. I'll just wait 18 months and then I'll look around to see what's what and who's who. Look, so far, a lot of these altcoins continue to bleed. Link Bitcoin, another great example, just been continuing to go down. It had a sizable bounce here, but it's just rallied back up and come straight back down. Now, you might hope that it could bounce here, and perhaps it would, but I also would point out that Aave Bitcoin, which follows a very similar profile here, it's already taken out this low. Okay, so if you're waiting for Aave Bitcoin to bounce off of this level, well, guess what? It hasn't, and it's actually gone slightly lower. Solana Bitcoin, this is a great example of just, every time it pumps up, everyone gets excited, and what happens? The move just gets faded every single time. And, I mean, I don't really know how else to say it. We've been making the same video for a year and a half, and every single time we get these rallies, Everyone comes out and says, oh, well, the altcoin reckoning, what was all that about? And then where are they a few months later when that move was faded once again? Look at AVAX Bitcoin, right? Broke below these lows, rallied back up. Guess where it got rejected from? The bull market support band. And now it's just been putting in new lows for this cycle. Matic Bitcoin continuing to push lower. Litecoin Bitcoin continuing to push lower. Uni Bitcoin continuing to push lower. Maker Bitcoin slowly continuing to go lower, right? Just one lower high after another. So I say once again, the altcoin market as a whole is just collectively bleeding to Bitcoin. And you can cherry pick a meme coin if you want to that was created last Tuesday and say, well, yeah, it's outperformed Bitcoin or something. Look, guys, it doesn't mean a thing, right? I mean, these meme coins are mostly just, if you think about it, think about the purpose of them, right? Someone somewhere decided, hey, I'm going to create a meme coin, and they probably paid a few influencers to promote it. They make sure that they have a lot. They wait a couple of weeks, and then they just dump it on you after you've been buying it because you thought it was the next best thing. It just keeps happening and happening and happening. And then eventually the people who fall for this stuff, they leave the Cryptoverse because they think the entire thing is a scam. Why shouldn't they? I mean, if the people they trust in crypto are constantly promoting these things, why shouldn't they? Right? We need to do a better job of tuning this stuff out. Okay, these meme coins, for the most part, they're just scams. Right? Don't fall for this stuff. And just because they go up for a weekend does not change that. It's a zero-sum game. If someone's making money, then that means someone else is losing a lot of money. Okay, so please be aware that these meme coins are just, for the most part, they're just outright scams. And if you play in that casino, you are likely to lose your money. All right. So please be aware of that. I don't put these videos out because they make me any friends, right? I would have a lot more followers. I would have a lot more subscribers if I just if I made these clickbait thumbnails and I told you everything was going to go to the moon and whatnot. But I don't care about that, right? I don't really care about that. I want you to know that I've lived in this market for several different cycles, and I've seen just how much people get wrecked in the altcoin market during the pre-halving years and even the early phase of the halving years. And I'm saying, look, the people who make the real money are the people that don't buy every single bear market rally along the way in the altcoin market. All right, go take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. Again, including stables, it's approaching 49%, right? It's still 48, right? But let's exclude stables. 53.3%, continuing to put in new highs, right? Locally, continuing to put in new local highs. After all this time, we've been saying the dominance is going to go higher. Excluding stables, it's just been one higher low after another for 2 years, right? This goes back to May of 2021 when this low was put in. 2 years now, the dominance has been slowly going higher when you exclude the stablecoin market, right? So the reality is it's impossible to know the exact direction of Bitcoin USD in the short term, but I'm here to say again, whether Bitcoin pushes up or not, I do think it will fade for the second half of this year, if not before then, right? Like the highs could be in for Bitcoin, and if they're not, then maybe there's one more rally, but even then, it still likely will get faded for the second half of the year, if not before then, and the altcoin market should bleed back to Bitcoin no matter what. So you've seen a lot of the altcoins on their Bitcoin pairs are just systematically bleeding back to Bitcoin. Furthermore, a lot of these altcoins on their USD pairs are likely going to go put in new lows. I mean, go take a look at, again, total 3. It's not even that far. I mean, like total 3, all it would have to do is drop like 20% and it's at a new low, right? And Bitcoin's in a very precarious position where like if Bitcoin, Bitcoin would have to drop 10% just to get back to its 20-week SMA. But what happens if it goes below that, just like it did in 2015 and 2019, the other pre-halving years? The altcoin market gets decimated and it easily puts in new lows. So total 3 doesn't even have to go that much further down just to go put on a new low, just because it didn't rally that much, just like Bitcoin did. So please be aware of that the altcoin market is in a very precarious position at this point, and because a lot of this liquidity has left and gone to some of these meme coins, they're very low liquid assets, and it would not take much for them to drop 20%. It would not take much, right? If Bitcoin goes down 10%, good chance you're going to see the altcoin market down 20 or 30%. So please be careful with the altcoin market, okay? It doesn't mean they can't rally, doesn't mean that at all, but the general trend is likely going to still be down. And look at some of the USD pairs. Look at ADA USD. it's trying to hold the 20-week, but it's probably not going to. And if it does hold it here, it might just kick the can down the road for another month or so. But likely it's going to get faded and fall back in, just like it did over here. I mean, again, not that dissimilar from moves we've seen in the past, where you see sort of these trend lines, and we fall below it, only for us to eventually we break through it, and then we just sort of fade back down and put in a new low. I think you're going to see the same thing again. Like, I think you're probably going to see ADA USD fade back down at some point as the year goes on, and likely put in new lows. Dot USD is already below the 20-week SMA, so ADA is showing a little bit more strength than Dot, which is not saying a whole lot. Dot is not even that much further above where its prior low was. I mean, it would just need to drop another 20%, and you have a new low. Link is basically just been going sideways for the last year. AVAX continues to slowly push lower, right? It's been in this channel for a while, just now below the 20-week SMA, the bull market support band, so it's not looking great. Solana is now falling below the 20-week SMA. Litecoin fell below it. Matic USD is below it. XRP, I've told you guys many times, it's likely just going to follow the ghost of its 2019 self, where it gets this rally above it, it breaks above the 20-week, and then it just gets faded for the next 9-10 months or so. Uni has broken below this support level, and also the 20-week SMA, it's down below that. Even if you want to go for one of the more older meme coins, you can see that even after in 2019, right, it made this move, and then it just got faded again for the next 9 months. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, we talked about the social risk before. How does the social risk get reset, right? You have a bear market year where it just goes down, and then you suck in a lot of liquidity in the pre-halving year, making everyone think that things are going to go back to new highs, only for everyone to get wrecked in the second half of the year, and then the bulls and the bears get wrecked. Everyone gets sufficiently wrecked, and then no one believes in the altcoin market because it just goes down and down and down, not only on their USD pairs, but also on their Bitcoin pairs. Everyone turns to a Bitcoin maxi, and then at that point, the altcoin market finally starts to give outsized gains against Bitcoin again. But I'm telling, I've said for a long time, right, the people that make the most in the altcoin market are not the people that bought every single bear market rally for 2 years after the Bitcoin peak. They're the people that just kind of waited. They made sure they had some cash on hand. They focused mostly on a crypto heavy or a Bitcoin heavy crypto portfolio. And the reason they might be Bitcoin heavy is because they think, you know what? They don't know the direction of Bitcoin USD, so might as well be hedged and have something. And if you think the Bitcoin dominance is going to go up, then you're thinking that the altcoin market bleeds against Bitcoin, so your opportunity cost buying the altcoin market is too high. Just put it in Bitcoin if you want to put it somewhere, and then you should see your purchasing power of the altcoin market go up as a function of time. And then also having cash, because look, if Bitcoin USD does drop and goes back down to a new low, or just a double bottom or something, having cash is a great thing to have. So especially with interest rates where they are, I mean, you can lock in 5%. I know that might not seem like a lot, but it certainly can beat the alternative of losing 90% in the altcoin market, like a lot of people do. Okay, so please be careful. Remember that the meme coin market that's being pumped up by everyone, it's mostly just a scam, and I don't really understand why people are falling for the same thing over and over and over again. It's like they don't learn their lesson, they make the same mistakes, and then they expect a different outcome. But it's likely not going to be a different outcome. Okay, and in 6 months from now, I think a lot of people are going to wonder, like, why did they put their money in this meme coin? Because someone promoted it that you trusted. You have to be careful. You really do have to be careful. And the other thing that I wanted to mention as well is the social risk, right? If you go take a look at the social risk, it's continuing to slowly push lower. And right, like if you look at YouTube views risk, it just put in a new low here. So people are leaving the Cryptoverse. It's nothing new. I mean, people left it in late 2019 as well. The second half of the year, we saw the market fade, and people left in as well. The market participants are fading right now, probably because they're so tired of being rug pulled on all these scams that get promoted. Okay? And they're likely not going to return until, honestly, we go back to QE, which is probably not this year. Okay? So the capitulation, the real capitulation candles in the altcoin market, to their final lows, or at least their local lows on USD pairs and against Bitcoin, they're still a ways off, more than likely. And I think people should be careful. Social sentiment is trending in the wrong direction. And I said, by the way, you might say, well, it's easy to say now. Look, I put a video out when alt season was trending on Twitter saying, guys, look, social risk is going in the wrong direction. People are leaving, not coming. Who are you expecting to buy your bags, right? Like, who's the marginal buyer when people are leaving the Cryptoverse, right? Who do you think is going to come in at this stage? Like, what new money is coming in at this stage to buy your altcoin bags? And we put that out when alt season was trending on Twitter, right? Where are they now, right? Where are they now that Total 3 is back below the 20-week SMA and trending down? And you know, I mean, this is something that you have to ask yourself. I guarantee you that, you know, just saying buy the dip on the altcoin market does not always work out. A lot of altcoins will not go to new highs. That is a fact. A lot of them will not. They become relics of a prior cycle, and everyone thinks that their altcoin is going to go put in new highs, but a lot of them won't. If you have one that does, then congratulations. But it's really hard to predict which ones those are going to be. The way I do it is I just don't ride them down for the bear market and the pre-halving year, right? Like, I just get out of the altcoin market and I wait. And then I might pick out a few altcoins to invest in. But at that point, it doesn't even matter if they go to new highs, right? Like, if you get in near whatever the local low is, even if they go up, you know, 5x or 10x or something, even if it's not a new high, like, you still made money. But you have to really be careful with the altcoin market, because it just bleeds back to Bitcoin. And if you watch your Satoshi value of your portfolio during the halving year, during the pre-halving year and the bear market year and even the early phase of the halving year, you likely will see it bleed if you have an altcoin heavy crypto portfolio. So again, I would encourage you to go look at a lot of these altcoins, look at them on their Bitcoin pairs, and just see how they systematically bleed against Bitcoin, how they likely are going to continue to put in new lows on the US dollar, and how it hasn't changed. And any type of rally that you've seen over the last year and a half on these Bitcoin pairs have mostly just been faded, and they've eventually put in new lows. And we can just look at the list, and it goes on and on and on and on. Okay? The altcoin market is a very risky place. The altcoin reckoning is a real thing. And I think the penultimate stage of the altcoin reckoning will come once the dominance breaks 49%. So that means the second to last, right? So we'll talk about the last phase later, but once the dominance breaks this 49% level, so once it's above 49%, this will be the penultimate stage of the altcoin reckoning. Okay, there's one stage after that, but we need to get to that stage first. And then once we get to that stage, then we become on the lookout for the final stage. And then the final stage is actually where, you know, that's the stage where no one's asking me about altcoins anymore, right? That's the stage where on the weekly live stream, people aren't asking me like for the NFA live, people aren't asking me like, oh, which altcoins, right? It's the time when no one cares enough anymore to even ask, right? And when that happens, then the altcoin reckoning is over. But it's not over when you have meme coins pumping, and also watching the altcoin market not show any new money, right? It's just the liquidity from one section of the altcoin market to another section of the altcoin market, and the friction, right, that's created is just going to make it so that people are losing their money, right? They're losing it to transaction fees, they're losing it to slippage, right? They're losing it to some people that just want to come in and suck in liquidity from everyone else, right? This is what's happening, in my opinion, and it's a shame that this is the way the cycle works, but it's happened before, and I think you're watching it happen again. So this is the altcoin reckoning. Please be careful. We'll try to provide an update on it, every few months or so. But it is a very difficult market to navigate, because I think a lot of people just want to feel like the altcoin market is, has found a pretty good attractive risk profile. But the reality is with the dominance below 50%, you're not going to compel me to think that the altcoin market is worth it. I mean, I think it needs to be at 60%, and maybe we'll talk. Anyways, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Again, check out Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.